Alright you guys, so today we're going to be talking about sleep training, and basically what I'm going to be doing is giving you an update on sleep training now that my daughter is 1. I promised you guys this video over on Instagram, so I'm sitting down to finally film it for you. If you guys are new here, welcome. First of all, my name is Kayla and I have a 13-month-old baby girl named Riley. We decided to sleep train Riley when she was 6 months old, so in case you've missed it, in case you're new here, I have 2 different videos that you should probably go watch before you watch this one. The first one is a just sit down video where I talk about why we decided to sleep train her. It goes into like all of the things that we were dealing with her prior to sleep training, all of her sleep issues, the fact that we were co-sleeping and all of that. So I will leave that link down in the description if you want to go watch that. And the second video that I have is basically a week-long sleep training video diary. So I'm vlogging the entire time that we're doing the sleep training with Riley, talking to you guys a little bit about how the process is going in real time. So you're definitely going to want to watch that. But in today's video, I'm just going to be updating you guys on how the sleep training has gone now that Riley is a little older, talking about some of the challenges that we've had, and then answering your questions that you guys left me on Instagram. I will say that this video, if I did every single thing that I wanted to include in this video, it would be way too long. So in addition to this video, I'm also going to do like a part 2 where I'm sharing like some sleep training tips. So if you guys are new to my channel, if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that red button and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss it. And while you're watching this, if you find it somewhat helpful, if you enjoy it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel so much. It takes 2 seconds. And if you guys have any other questions that I don't answer in this video, leave them down below in the comments and I promise you that I'll get back to you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna open up my phone here to the questions that you guys asked on Instagram. So the first question that I've gotten asked like a couple different ways is, how has her sleep training been now that she's 1? So like I mentioned in the beginning, we decided to sleep train Riley when she was 6 months old. So now that Riley is 13 months old, she's almost 14 months old, I can tell you her nighttime sleeping has been amazing since the very day that we started sleep training. Her nighttime sleep, so just so you guys have an idea, up until recently, Riley was going to sleep at 9 o'clock at night and she would wake up at 8 in the morning. So she was getting a long stretch of sleep, and that's uninterrupted. So like, I can't even remember like one night since we sleep trained where she has woken up in the middle of the night, where we've had to go into her room, where we've had to, you know, go and figure out what's going on with her when we were sleep training. So like, if you look at the video diary, it took a few nights for her to get the hang of like sleeping straight through the night. I think at the beginning, like the first 2 nights, we kind of had to go in there and do like the whole process, do the Ferber method, because that's the method that we followed. So I think that took a couple nights, but ever since like that first week of sleep training, we don't go into her room at night. So my first response whenever somebody wants to know what like an update is on her sleep training, I would say that to this day, like we just actually transitioned her bedtime to a little earlier. So now she's going to sleep at 8 at night and she's sleeping through 8, 8:15, 8:30 in the morning. With Riley, I feel like her naps have always been the bigger struggle. So naps, I feel like for babies are difficult because their bodies and their schedules are constantly changing. Riley's had a very different schedule just depending on how old she's been. So like, I think I filmed the video on like a 6-month schedule for a baby, and I will leave that link down below in case you want to check it out. But Riley's 6-month-old baby schedule is very different than the schedule that she follows now. And we're now also at a point where we're transitioning her schedule again. Like I said, we adjusted like her bedtime. So when your babies are like going through that first year, especially, they're going to be transitioning, taking naps at different times. They're maybe gonna drop a nap. Now, I remember a point where Riley was taking 3 naps a day and now she's taking 2 naps a day. So like anytime that you're transitioning those different nap schedules and you're going from 3 naps to 2 naps, or anything like that is happening with their naps, obviously I think it's kind of safe to say that they're not gonna nap as well. So anytime that we've had a transition like that, that has been a little bit rough. Like, I'm trying to think of everything that I want to say here about her naps, because like her napping has not ever been like fantastic. To me personally, I would rather have a baby who's sleeping straight through the night and doesn't have any issues sleeping straight through the night. Like, I can deal with her having some issues with her nap times, as opposed to like having her have a hard time sleeping through the night. Because before we sleep trained Riley, she was waking up every single like half hour. I was not sleeping at all. So the fact that I get to sleep through the night is like a miracle from sweet baby Jesus himself. But naps have never been fantastic. So what do I mean by that? I don't just want to say like, oh, her naps haven't been great. Anytime that she had some kind of developmental milestones, like I remember vividly, like when she learned how to pull herself up on the crib, those couple days were really hard for her naps because she pulled herself up and then she didn't know how to like sit back down in her crib. And so that was rough because she just wouldn't nap. Like she would just spend the entire time in her crib, wouldn't nap, and there was some crying involved. Like I'm never gonna tell you that her naps have been without crying. Her naps have usually entailed some crying, and it's different every day. There are some days when Riley hits her crib and she's like playing with her little lovey and playing with her little stuffed animals, and then she falls asleep, no crying whatsoever. Those days are amazing. Then there are some other days when she's having a little bit of a hard time going to sleep, and she'll cry for a little while, especially when I leave the room. Like when I leave the room and she does not want to be napping, she'll cry for maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then she'll stop and she'll play around in her crib. Sometimes she rolls around in there for 30 minutes, an hour even, and then she falls asleep and she sleeps for an hour. So Riley has never been a wonderful sleeper. She's never been the best napper, but she does nap. And so for that, I'm very grateful. I've just kind of had to learn like what is gonna be my limit with her. Like when I put her in her crib, if she starts crying, how long am I gonna let her cry? I usually don't feel comfortable with her crying for more than 20 minutes. Like if it's 20 minutes of full on crying, screaming, I'm like, okay, baby girl's just not gonna nap today. And there have been some times where I've just pulled her out of her crib and said, okay, well, you know what, today it's not gonna happen. For me, personally, that was a choice that I have made, and I'm okay with that. It just kind of depends on what you feel comfortable doing. Like I said, there's other days where she'll be in her crib for like an hour and she's not complaining, she's not crying, she's just playing and she's kind of doing her own thing. She's not necessarily sleeping, but she'll spend an hour in there, and I'm okay because that's like quiet time. I get to do my stuff. She's just in her crib relaxing, and then eventually sometimes she actually does fall asleep and she'll sleep for another hour. So I actually get like 2 hours to myself. So again, with naps, it's been a challenge. It's taken a lot of adjustment and a lot of like, well, it's great some days, it's not so great the other days, and trying to find like ways to deal with every scenario. But with her naps, it's been just all over the place, to be honest. But I can count on her at least getting 1 nap a day. Like there have been a few very rare instances where she just does not nap at all. Baby girl is teething, or she's super cranky, or she's feeling sick, and she's just not gonna nap that day. On most days, consistently, she's at least getting 1 nap a day. Normally, I will say, like if she gets 2 naps a day, then normally her naps are like an hour and a half each, normally more closer to the hour mark. If she just gets 1 nap a day, so like let's say I put her down for her first nap and she just does not nap, then I can count on the fact that she's probably gonna be a little bit tired, a little bit more tired for her second nap, and then that one is usually closer to 2 hours. So she tends to kind of make up for it if she misses a nap. But I know that baby girl's getting rest, and I'm so happy about that, because before we were sleep training, Riley wouldn't even stay in her crib. Like straight up, she would not stay in her crib. I would put her butt in the crib and she would start crying. And if she did nap, it was maybe for 20 or 30 minutes. She had never napped for like an hour and a half until we did the sleep training. So I think that's all I'm gonna say as far as like a general update. If you guys have like specific questions, then go ahead and leave them down in the comments, but if not, I'll just be rambling here forever. Let's see what other questions you guys had. All right, so I've also gotten this question a couple times. Somebody asked, did Riley ever use a pacifier? And if so, did you take it cold turkey when sleep training? Riley never took a pacifier. Never in her life did she want a pacifier. I so tried to give her a pacifier, because when you give a baby a pacifier, that's like a soothing mechanism. It helps them sleep a lot of times. So even in the case where like before we started sleep training, I was dying for her to take a pacifier so I could give her something that would soothe her, that would maybe help her nap, help her sleep through the night. Nothing. I will say, if Riley had taken a pacifier, I would have given it to her while we were sleep training. Like that would have been a godsend. I would have loved to have given her a passy in her mouth while we were sleep training so that she could kind of just learn how to self-soothe with the passy. I would not personally have had any issue giving her the passy, but Riley never wanted a passy. All she wanted was my boob, which is one of the reasons why the whole sleep situation was so difficult, because the only thing that she knew how to rely on to help her go to sleep was my boob. And she was in my bed on me 24/7, and we just got to a point where that wasn't like a good idea for any of us. All right, so then I got a question. Hi Kayla, do you mind sharing Riley's day schedule? I'm trying to build up a routine for my 5-month-old, and continues, but I can't see the rest of the comment. So I am planning on filming a full-blown schedule for Riley, like a current schedule, so stay tuned for that. Like I said, schedules are very different depending on how old your babies are. So the one that's closest to the 5-month schedule is the one that I mentioned, where I do share her 6-month schedule, and like I said, it will be in the description box. Actually, like any kind of routine video or schedule video that I've already posted here on my channel, I'll leave them down below so you can check them out. But you can also check like her monthly updates, because up until she was 12 months old, I was sharing monthly updates, and I want to say that I at least go into like a little bit of detail about her different schedules at each of those milestones. So definitely check out her monthly updates. I think I have a playlist that's actually monthly updates at every single month, so you're gonna want to watch those videos. But just generally, so you guys have an idea, like right now Riley is waking up at around 8 in the morning, and then she goes down for a nap at 10:30, and then she also has a nap at around 3:30, and then she's going to bed at 8. So that's like this current schedule that we're working with. Like I said, she's about to drop a nap, so we're gonna kind of have to adjust that schedule, but right now that's what's been working for us. She's been sleeping about an hour at each of those naps, so if I can get a collective 2 hours of napping for her every day, like that's a good day. All right, so then the next question I got was, how did you deal with the sleep regression between months 9 and 12? Did Riley go through one? Like I said, the only thing that I can think of that happened within that 9 to 12 month mark was the fact that I'm pretty sure that's when she started pulling herself up on the crib, and that was a nightmare because I would watch her in the monitor and she would just pull up on the crib, and she actually ate her crib. I've talked about it a million times, but her entire crib, like she ate it because she would pull herself up and then just start like chomping on the crib, and she would be crying. And in those instances, that was rough. That's where I kind of had to say like, okay, she's been crying for, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I would go in there, and at first, like I would go in there and just like lay her down again because I didn't want her like chewing the crib. Like that's not good for her. So I would go in there a couple times, just put her down, but she would keep like pulling herself back up. And if she had been standing there for 15, 20 minutes, just pure screaming, crying, that's when I kind of had to say, okay, like how long are we gonna leave her in there? Like, are we going to just pull her away and say you're not gonna nap, or what do we do? I remember in different occasions, like if it was like a really bad day where she was just crying and like mentally I just couldn't deal with it, I would go in there and I would nurse her. She would go to sleep, and I know that that's not the best thing to do, but I kind of just had to play it on a case-by-case basis. Like I said, there were some times when she just straight up didn't nap. At the very least, I can say that even through that like 9 to 12 month period, any kind of like sleep regression period, if she ever had a sleep regression, it was with her naps. It wasn't in the middle of the night. It wasn't me having to wake up at 3 in the morning and figure out what to do. Like she slept through the night. It was always her nap. All right, so then somebody else asked about my feeding schedule while sleep training. So it was actually funny because when we started sleep training Riley, like I said, she was 6 months old, and we went and we talked to the pediatrician first before we decided to do the sleep training, and she recommended that at first that we try to feed her in the middle of the night, that she kind of thought that Riley needed at least one nighttime feed. So I went into sleep training fully anticipating that at least once in the middle of the night I was gonna have to be up to give Riley some food to nurse her, because I think I was still nursing at that time. But then we did the sleep training and she slept through the entire night, and I was like, I'm not gonna wake her up. Like baby girl finally figured out how to sleep a consecutive like 12 hours. Like I am not gonna wake this child up. So I think like the following week I had a visit with the pediatrician, and I told her the situation, and she was like, okay, that's fine. Like you don't need to wake her up in the middle of the night. She'll make up for it in the morning. So I kind of got the okay from her to not feed her in the middle of the night. But I have always, like right before Riley goes to bed, she has always gotten a bottle. So she always gets her 5 ounces of milk, whether it has been just straight up bottle or nursing and the bottle. Like I always end her night, like right before I put her in the crib, she always gets a bottle of some sort. That way she goes to sleep on a full tummy, and I think that helps her, you know, sleep through the entire night. Then somebody else asked, I'm gonna start sleep training my 8-month-old. How long did it take for your little one to sleep train? So if you go and you watch that sleep training video diary, I will talk about throughout the entire process, like how long, like how she did the night before, because honestly, I know that that week that I recorded, by the end of that week, she was sleep trained. Like baby girl was sleeping through the night, I think as early as like the 3rd night. Like that's the memory that I have. I remember vividly, like the first night was hard. The first night there was crying, there was waking up in the middle of the night, and we had to go back into her crib and kind of soothe her again and do the whole Ferber method. Like that was night 1. I wanna say off the top of my head, we maybe had to do that the 2nd night, if that. But ever since we initiated that process, ever since we did the Ferber method, she's been sleeping through the night. One thing I will say though, like anytime that your routine gets thrown off, like if you go on vacation and then you come back home, you should anticipate, you should expect that you might have to do that Ferber method again. That's one of the things that I had read a lot about. Like if you're going to be changing your routine, if you're going to be spending time like on vacation or going to your mom's house, or like you're changing up the schedule, changing the routine, it might take your little one a couple days to just get back in the cycle. So it's not uncommon for you to have to redo this Ferber method. I don't think we ever like redid the method like from scratch, like, okay, you know what, we're gonna have to go in at 3 minutes, at 5 minutes, at 7 minutes, or whatever the actual Ferber method was. But I know that there were times when maybe we were out and about a lot, or like I had a lot of like errands to run during the day, and that kind of threw her off of her nap schedule, and the result of that was that she didn't nap the best. So yeah, I think that that kind of answers some of the questions that I got on Instagram. Like I said, if you have any other questions, leave them down below and either I'll answer them there for you, or maybe I'll do a part 2. My general takeaway of this whole sleep training situation was, for us, I can say that it worked. For us, I can say that it was the best thing that we did for Riley. It taught her how to actually sleep. It taught her how to self-soothe. Baby girl had no self-soothing mechanisms in place beforehand. And I will say, Riley is a happy, functional baby girl who is very loved. I do not hate my daughter. I do not neglect her. You guys can see in the vlogs for yourselves. You guys can see what she's up to. You guys are the first ones to tell me that she's smart and happy. So check that out if you don't believe me. But baby girl's doing fine. We are so much happier now. So like I said, stay tuned for the second part of this video where I'm gonna share some actual sleep training tips. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys to pieces, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.